Another weekend on the road in the Missouri Valley Conference for the guys sitting across from me. Coach Lance Rhodes and his Salukis look to bounce back and get back to the winning ways on a weekend. Though coming off a nice midweek win last night against Lindenwood. Coach, so much thanks for the time. We talked about it in the weekend in Evansville. There's plenty of lessons for your guys to learn and to continue to improve as you go throughout the year. You've had some time. How's your group really responded, you feel like, just to your message since the Evansville weekend?
No, I think it was good. The biggest thing that I liked about yesterday was it's going to translate to the weekend as far as having some toughness to us because it was a tough day to play. The conditions were cold. It was windy, and it's just kind of foreshadowing what we're going to get into going up to Chicago. I mean, it's snowing up there right now. It's going to be cold and windy for the first couple days, and we're playing. So whether we like it or not, we've got to adapt, adjust, make no excuses, go up there, and we have to play well. Obviously, they're used to that type of environment up there, and, it's a big weekend for us as far as kind of making some headway in the standings and things like that. So we've got to kind of have a mentality of it doesn't matter what kind of conditions we're going to play in, we're going to go up there and play well.
It was an area we talked about on Saturday once the series completed of I know how it ended stinks for everybody, but to see your bullpen really bounce back after what was a difficult start to that series Thursday night where it felt like you and I were looking around and man, can we get somewhere to find the zone to on Saturday, yeah, your offense kept chipping away throughout the game, but your bullpen, specifically Shane Wilhelm and many others, gave yourselves an opportunity to get back into the game.
No, it was just one of those kind of back and forth, tough games where it almost felt like you needed to be on offense last to really win it. And no excuses. I mean, we take a 2-run lead in the last inning. Obviously, we want to be able to hold that. But, on those days like that, college, I try to explain it to people, but college baseball is just different than like a professional game. When you get some of those windy, warm days where the wind's flying out, it's not easy to get those last 3 outs without giving up a couple runs. And honestly, I think that's just kind of what happened there where Evansville, they got one up in the wind, they hit the home run, they tied it. But I think obviously we're disappointed in losing the series, but I still think that you see the fight in our players. We could have easily rolled over that weekend. I mean, we played from behind the whole time, but our guys kept chipping away, kept fighting, and we were right there. We had a chance to win that weekend. Biggest thing is we got to continue that mentality of never giving up, never quitting. We just don't want to play from behind, an entire weekend because it exhausts you. You kind of run out of gas, and you're on fumes there at the very end, and we just can't play baseball like that.
I brought it up during the broadcast on Saturday, and it was after the game on Friday night. You were so proud of your group and how they responded because of how you lost on Thursday and then how the game started on Friday. There weren't very many teams who could push through it. I would add the same thing, Coach, on Sunday when that 6-run inning happens. You're going, man, we had Aiden Fuller on the mound. He gets chased early. Like, that is a game that could really snowball and get out of hand, but it didn't. I'm not saying that's necessarily all a credit just you and your coaches, but how much does that really give you the confidence of, I got the right guys here. I got the right guys with the right DNA of, we'd like to get off to better starts, and we want to prevent those innings from happening. But I at least know, man, when things get tough, they're not going to break. They're going to continue to fight.
Yeah, I know for a fact we have the right guys in our clubhouse and our dugout. The thing that I liked about this past weekend, and I think you alluded to it too, is it had a conference tournament feel to it where it kind of had that back and forth, a lot of momentum swings. And that's the way the conference tournament's going to be. That's the way a lot of these conference weekends are going to be as we get closer to the end of this thing and standings are on the line every weekend that we play. That's kind of what we talked about our guys is, right now in the moment when I'm telling them, hey, it stings, it hurts, but there is something to learn from this. When we get into the conference tournament and there's those highs and lows, you give up a home run early in the conference tournament and the other teams, they're riding a high and you gotta kind of manage that, get back into the game, and then you take a lead and you just kind of back and forth because, when you're in that kind of win or take all situations in the tournament, you don't want to you don't want to be real high. You don't want to be real low. You want to be as consistent as you can, knowing that there's going to be some good things that happen. There's going to be some negative things that happen. But how do you even those out and continue to play solid baseball for 27 outs for multiple games in a row? And again, I think it's a thing that's going to continue to make us better playing those type of weekends. And we still have a bunch of really good teams in our league to play, so we're going to have a lot of those weekends.
Well, the other side too, Coach Rhodes, and you do, when you go through the fall, even as you try to when you can get out on the field before you start playing in January and early February, you put your teams through so many different scenarios and situations, saying, hey, guys, we're going to implement this situation. You got guys at first and second, nobody out. You're down by 1 in the ninth, got to find a way to get them home. But it's different when you actually do it and you're put into that situation when you're in bases loaded jams, when you come in to make changes. It's different when you actually go through it. That's why I alluded to it. I'm glad you re-brought it up. These are really important reps for your guys because you can only mimic that type of emotion and feel in a game. You just can't do it in a practice or can't even do it in film sessions going back and watching games that feel that way.
Yeah, no, I mean it's the heart racing is what we have to be able to play under. We have to be able to play under that kind of pressure where you know that the game is on the line with this pitch, with this swing, with this ball that's hit at me. And like you said, as much as we try to simulate those type of things in the fall or in January, like the heart's just not beating out of the chest in those moments. And when it's actually a game on the line, whenever it's not even a game on the line, but it's like, you're playing Evansville. We know they're good. Like it's an emotional game. We need the series. They need the series. And, there's just all those bag of emotions there. And, again, I don't think our guys shied away from the competition one bit. We just happened to be on the losing end of it, which stinks. But when you talk about actually competing and never giving in, if we do that with talent that we have, more times than not, we'll come out on the winning end of it. So, again, it's frustrating that we lost the series, but I think there's a lot of positives.
One of the areas I give you a lot of credit for, and you're really one of the first coaches I've been around that have been as aggressive as you are in these situations, I want to ask you about them is if you have a feel like even if the count starts off 1-0, 2-0, 3-0, whatever the case is, you're like, man, we got to make a change now. We can't let this at bat get away. You go to it. And I felt against Evansville, you made a lot of good calls in that regard that worked out in the end for the Dogs and getting us opportunities to get back into the game. Is that something you've always been that way? Has it changed, evolved? I know it's different game by game and situation. It's got to be on field for you, but where have you been in the situation? Because there's a lot of coaches who are not that way, who are like, I'm going to let this ride out the whole at bat and then make a change.
Yeah. The one thing that I try to express to our players, because it's more of a college game thing where you would see that move type of made. I express to them prior to the season starting. I remind them as the season's going. I'm never making a move or a change for any type of embarrassment or to make you I feel like I'm kind of showing you up in that moment or anything like that. We're in it together as a team, as a coaching staff, as a head coach. I'm going to make mistakes, making some decisions. Players, I understand they're going to make mistakes. But just knowing that if I do make a move in a certain situation like that, it's because I feel like the teammate that I'm bringing in is the best possible move for that situation at that moment. And a lot of it kind of just goes to what we're seeing, how we're feeling, how the guy's looking. So a lot of it has nothing to do. It's not a personal thing that we're doing there. And I try to express that to our players. And, I know it's sometimes uncomfortable to come out and, you get taken out of the bat when it's 2-0, 1-0. And I know they're competitors and they feel like, hey, I'm going to get this thing done. But I think our guys, as long as we explain it to them properly, they understand what we're trying to do, that we're just trying to make the best move for that given moment, then, no hard feelings on it from my end or anything like that.
I think there's many guys we can go to and pinpoint and focus on. One of the guys who has been really reliable for you, and we talked a little bit about him last night after the Lindenwood game, has been Jake Allgaier at short. What have you seen from Jake since he's kind of now been kind of your everyday shortstop? You have tons of confidence in Anthony Kodama too. Whenever you got to give Anthony a chance at short, but what makes Jake really special there? Because when you pair him with a really good Stephen Loden, and then obviously Heston Gray at third, and Trey getting more reps at first, all of a sudden your infield has become a really good strength from a defensive standpoint.
Yeah, no, he's been a shortstop in his career at junior college, and he kind of transitioned to third base when he was at Western Illinois, and then he's came back here and he's played a solid shortstop. I think one of the things that's made me more comfortable putting him out there is the way that Heston Grace played third base. Prior to the season starting, we really didn't play Heston at a lot of third. He played a lot of shortstop. He took some reps in the outfield. And, just due to really kind of sharp going out, trying to get some bats in the lineup and things like that, we just try to, hey, let's see what Heston looks like at third. And he's kind of really taken over that third base position there, made some phenomenal plays, got some range to him. And then it's kind of slid Allgaier over to short, and both of them have been really good on that left side of the infield there. But, the thing about Jake is he's just kind of a baseball rat. He's kind of got that, mentality to him where, as a middle infielder, you kind of want that energy, that effort, that communication on the field. And he brings a lot of the intangibles that you look for in a shortstop there. And I've been super pleased with the way that he's kind of manned that position.
If you don't mind, Coach, you mentioned Shark. For what you can share, how's he doing? I know losing him is obviously a big blow.
Yeah, no, he actually had surgery on Monday, and successful surgery. Everything went well, and looking to hopefully have him back at probably middle of the fall next fall, and it'll be just a rehab process throughout the entire summer. And once he gets back, hopefully we can get him a big senior year that obviously we weren't expecting him to have next season. So. It's nice to be able to throw him back in there, but obviously, pretty devastating to lose him for, this season.
It's one of those areas, Coach, where as I ask this question, it almost feels like I apply the pressure on guys like Al and Aiden and Mike in terms of how they start games, which it's all part of it. But that's one of the areas I know where we got to get off to better starts. And no question, it's a 9-inning game. If you get off to good starts, you want to make sure you finish the game strong. You won't play well for all 9, but specifically in starts, where do you feel right now that has to get better for your club?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at kind of the matchup this weekend against Illinois Chicago, the starting comparisons of the pitchers are pretty similar. Where they've got us edged out in a little bit is their starters have anywhere between 8 to 12, 15 more innings on every single starting pitcher than what we have right now. And we've got the ability for our starters to go deeper in games. We got to get them deeper into games where it limits those bullpen arms to where we have some more, innings left in the tank on Sunday, late Saturday. And then the other big thing that's going to really make us a little bit better of a team is we've got to take those 6, 7-run innings and turn those things into 2, 3-run innings. We got to turn those 3-run innings into 1-run innings. And when we start doing that, then we're really going to have a chance to get on a roll, win a bunch of games. And that's probably the biggest difference maker in our season right now is those, I wouldn't even call them big innings. They're just massive innings. And, it's a hard thing to do to score 6, 7, 8 runs in an inning, especially, if we're not hitting them or walking them, which almost every one of those innings has a bunch of those in there. And I think, we talked about it last night too. You go back and look, I think we made one error last night, which I think took us to, it's either 14-1 or 13-1 whenever we make one or less errors. So, again, I feel confident that we're going to, on a consistent base, swing the bats well enough, score runs, but we got to play defense continually. And on the pitching side, limit those massive innings.
Because it really is, even after, the 6-run inning on, Sunday or on Saturday, for an example. You don't feel good in the moment, but with the way you guys swing the bat, you never feel like you're out of the game. So to your point, if you can just limit those massive innings to smaller outputs, you know, at any given time, whenever it rolls over, and when you have the benefit to hit last when you're at home, or regardless of what you have to go into the ninth inning, you're going to feel really, really good with where you're at because you know you got plenty of weapons that you can throw at opponents.
Yeah, and I think the reason why we feel confident that we're going to score runs is because up to this point, one, we have hitters that can, hit the ball. We have hitters that can hit extra base hits too, but we also have guys that are in the moment of the game, whether we're down, we're down 6, and they will still take that leadoff walk. They're not just trying to, get up there and just hit. Because when we need to play catch up, we're going to need a little bit of help. We're going to need free passes. We're going to need to take all those extra bases of balls and dirts, all those things, but then let somebody bop one in the gap or hit one over the fence when we got 2 or 3 guys on base, and then all of a sudden we're right back into the game. So I do think the fact that our guys are staying disciplined with their at-bats, gives us a chance.
Let's talk about UIC. Did a little bit in terms of the pitching comparison. One of the things I think Coach McDermott has done a good job. I know it's only 1 year in the Valley last year, but looking historically, they've always been a good offensive team when he has been there. Whether it's because he's been a part of that staff for a long time, since 1998, to now ultimately being the head coach. What offensively makes them hard to navigate from what you've been able to gather on film and obviously just from the raw data as well?
Yeah, I think they're going to be a team that when they're on the bases, they do a lot of whether it's fake steals, they kind of do some jump off the base. It looks like they're going to run. So a lot of distractions on the bases, which is going to, obviously take away from your just full mindset of getting the hitter out at the plate, which ultimately is going to get them probably better pitches to hit. In return, you can see that their batting averages are really good for, our league. They've hit well all season. They've got some good team speed in there too, where they do, they'll play a little bit of small ball, but they also got, the chance to leg out some doubles, leg out some triples. I don't think with the way the conditions are going to play this weekend, it's necessarily going to be a deal where you're worried about the ball leaving the yard necessarily. It's probably going to be a big weekend to limit the free bases, walks, hit by pitches, all those things. Because with the wind blowing in, temperatures in the low to mid 30s, it's probably going to be a hit and run, bunt them over, steal type of weekend. You look at their games, they've played a ton of close games. I mean, it feels like every game that you look at, every box score is like a three inning or 3-run spread, one way or the other. So they're obviously going to be used to playing in that type of game, and we've got the ability to kind of match that too. We've got some team speed. We can play small ball if we need to. We can run. We can hit a gap or two. So. I think it'll be a fun matchup again. I really do. I mean, they played Indiana State extremely close for 3 straight games. They lost all 3, but it was extremely close. So by no means are we going to walk up there and just push them over. But I do like our matchup against them. But we have to go up there and play well.
No doubt about it. We'll have all 3 games on Saluki Radio this weekend on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Now I can get back to Friday, Saturday, Sunday after Thursday, Friday, Saturday last week in Evansville. Coach Rhodes, thanks so much for the time. Looking forward to this weekend with you in Chicago.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.